Hello, good morning. I hope that everybody is well and that you've had a good week. I've had a busy week once again. These weeks, they are jam-packed full of so many different things. This week, I had my trip to London and I really enjoyed every minute, but I was so glad to get back home. There's no place like your own home, and when I was younger, living in London would have been very exciting, but now I'm older and I have different values in my life. I'm a country girl. I've had no time this week whatsoever to stitch on Lucy Barber, so she's not making an appearance this week, but we have lots of samplers to talk about, including 2 new samplers that have come that are just sat there, which I'll show you a little bit later on. Stitch wise, I did work on Anne Morrison so that I could keep up with the stitch along. So on Anne, I have completed the April assignment, which was this band, and as it's May, I have started the May assignment, which is the row of Algerian eyelets, and I have completed the A and the B, and because I had some thread left over from the B, I have started this row of Algerian eyelets below, and you can see how I am travelling. I am travelling out in this direction, and then I will work my way back, filling in the missing stitches. To me, it's quite important to travel with your Algerian eyelets rather than work each one individually. They sit far, far better. And for those of you who are using Auvera Soie's Soie 103 for your eyelets, isn't it a joy to use? It is such a robust silk that you really can cut quite a long piece of silk and work with it without it fraying or snapping. And the 103, it's so crisp. It was really lovely working the double running stitch curlicues that came off this row of alphabets, because the 103, it's so crisp, it sits on the linen so well. I'm really pleased with how Anne Morrison is progressing, and I'm so glad that I joined in with the stitch along. And we'll have this sampler for my sampler wall. The model has gone back to the model stitcher and it's hanging on her wall now. What else have I done this week? I have been doing so much research. I'm really into writing mode at the moment. And I've been down lots and lots of rabbit holes, including one about grand pianos. And the history of the pianoforte is really very interesting. And you will be reading about that fairly soon in a booklet that we will be publishing in the next few weeks. At the beginning of last weekend, we released Tom Foolery, which is this little sampler here, and my gosh, it's been so popular. I think it's such a happy sampler, and the colours are glorious, that lots and lots of people want to stitch Tom's Foolery, and I think that there is a stitch along starting that's being led by Karen Kirk of Linen and Threads, and also of Fox and Rabbit Linens. So look out for that on Instagram or Facebook. I haven't had chance to check it out myself, but I did hear about it from another needleworker. This sampler is such a fun one. This was stitched on 56 count, so a lot has been crammed into a very, very small area on this sampler. It's all about colour, and we used 25 colours in reproducing the sampler, but it's a glorious colour palette. We provide a conversion for Soie d'Argent and for DMC. The stitch count is 217 217 by 153. So if you stitch this sampler on 14 count Aida, which is 28 count linen, the design area would be 15.5 by 10.93 inches. On 18 count Aida, 36 count linen, it would be just over 12 inches by 8.5 inches. And on 56 count linen, which is what I used, it would be 7.75 inches by 5.46. Whilst this is a true reproduction, I did not fill in the background. The original sampler, every piece of that linen was covered in stitches. What I did, I chose a linen that replicated the colour of the background stitch, and I went for grey sand, which is an over-dyed linen by Bijoux Designs. But you know, you should choose the linen count and the linen colour that appeals to you and that you're comfortable working on. I really do think that is extremely important, that you work on something that you enjoy. And you know, it's not always about high count linen. I'm going to show you a sampler in a moment that's done on a very low count linen. But let me just carry on talking about Tom for a moment. It's cross stitch entirely over 2. That's the only stitch used. So you know, you can stitch this on Aida, Lin-Aida or linen, and you know, whether you are an advanced needle worker or somebody who's picking up their needle for the first time, this is a project that will be for everybody. And at Hands Across the Sea Samplers, we really want our samplers to be inclusive, not exclusive. So we're really trying to have a breadth to our portfolio. Now, the original sampler has no date and no name on it, but the moment we saw this sampler, we felt that it was a Welsh sampler. The giant carnation, that is something that is so Welsh. It's just when you pick the sampler up, it feels Welsh, and maybe that's because I was born and bred in Wales, lived there for the first 40 years of my life. The other little clue is the hats the 3 figures are wearing. They're all forms of Welsh hats, all 3 of them. It's so pretty. When I look at this sampler, I always notice something different. Even though I stitched it all, I still notice something different. She really packed in so much colour and so many motifs. A very diligent little girl stitched this. Anyway, Foolery is available on our website as an instant PDF download, and it's also available from some selective stores around the world who have access to our PDFs. Okay, I mentioned about a very low count linen. Now, for those of you who are in the Morrison stitch along, you know that at the end of the stitch along we have a draw for an antique sampler, and that sampler was Eliza Nisbet, and this is the model for Eliza Nisbet, which has just been stitched by Vina Parika, who lives in Iceland. And this model, I wanted to show it to you before it was framed. And I know it's difficult to pass on a sense of feel, but this sampler, the linen is fabulous. This is a legacy linen and it's 24 count. And the feel of it is so different, and it is so, it's soft, it's supple, it's weighty. And this linen literally means that the sampler works out the same size as the original, and we have stitched it with wool. The wool that we've used is Auvert-Arsoise fine Debuisson wool, and it sits so beautifully on this 24 count linen. Or I should say, Vina actually tea-dyed this piece of linen. It wasn't quite dark enough, or maybe rich enough for what we wanted, and we wanted it to feel slightly aged. So she filled a bowl with warm water and some tea bags and some salt, and she soaked this piece of linen in that water. When the linen grabbed the colour of the tea, she cold rinsed it and pressed it, and there she had her tea-dyed linen. And the age and effect on the linen has worked very, very well. I now have to get this laced and stretched and laced, I should say it that way round. I have the backing board, and I'm hoping to get this to my framers in the week ahead, and then to the photographers, and get the booklet written for this sampler so that you can enjoy and stitch Eliza as well. One lucky person is going to win the original Eliza, and that person will be able to have these samplers hanging side by side. Talking of stitch-alongs, the Jane Fiddes stitch-along is progressing so well, and it's getting towards the end of the stitch-along now. A year goes so quickly. And in the last week, the next sampler has been chosen for the Jane Fiddes stitch-along to continue. It's been such a fantastic stitch-along. Sherry has been an amazing stitch-along leader, and I think that everybody who has participated has really enjoyed it. Now, I've been giving a lot of thought to the sampler that we were going to have for the stitch along to continue for another year. And I felt with Jane Fiddes that it was a sampler that if you were open to learning new stitches, you know, we had the turkey knot stitch, we had the satin stitch, we had stitching over one, we had the plait stitch. But for those who were just starting or didn't want to go down the specialty stitch route, I charted the over one sections and those other sections in cross stitch over two as an alternative. And I felt it would be really nice that if the next sampler that we stitched sort of fell in with that as well. So the sampler we have chosen to continue on from the Jane Fiddes Stitch Along is this one, Eliza Martha Linfoot. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful sampler? She really is glorious. This one is, the only cross stitch that's in this one is over 2. But on this sampler you do have some satin stitches and you have some stem stitch. But I am also going to rechart those areas in cross stitch over 2 and some back stitch or double running stitch in lieu of the stem stitch. The stem stitch is used to add this detailing to the basket, and then the ridges are filled in with satin stitch. So that will be recharted in cross stitch over 2 and double running stitch. And then you have some satin stitch on these flowers. This is such a beautiful, beautiful sampler. Anyway, the 3 stores that sponsored the Stitch Along for Jane Fiddes, which is the Attic Needleworks, Needle in a Haystack and Traditional Stitches, will be the sponsors for the Carry On Stitch Along for Eliza Martha Linfoot. The booklet has not gone to print yet. It's going to my proofreader in the next 24 hours, and it should be available probably in around about 3 weeks' time. So this sampler is not available for you to order, but you can let the Attic Needle in a Haystack and Traditional Stitches know or express your interest if you would like to join in with the Stitch Along. In the meantime, in 2 weeks' time, Linda Clues, who stitched the model, is coming to visit with me and stay in one of our holiday cottages here. And I actually thought it would be really nice if we could release this sampler when Linda is here, so that she can join me and talk to you about Eliza. I think that would be really nice for Linda, and it would be really nice for everybody in the Stitch Along as well, to get to meet the model stitcher and get her take on this very, very beautiful sampler. There's 21 colours in this sampler, and the colours are very, very delicate but still colourful. And these colours were taken from the front of the original sampler. Isn't this a beautiful frame? And I think it works so well for this sampler. It's been really lovely this week to see some finishes of Emily Ann Foster. A lot of people have been stitching this little girl. It's not a big stitch. You can finish this sampler, you can stitch it in a long weekend. It's a very pretty sampler. You can't beat a red sampler, and I just love this little extra on it, and that God is love. Very, very sweet sampler. So thank you for everybody who has been stitching her and have been posting their progress. It's really lovely to see. Now, this weekend is what we call in the UK a bank holiday. Monday is a national holiday because it's May Day. And the forecast for tomorrow is not very good, but that is a traditional British bank holiday. But today it's beautiful, and yesterday it was beautiful. May is all about spring and flowers and colour and better weather, and it's a time that we all celebrate that, you know, summer is on its way. And of course, the Queen of the May. tomorrow on May Day, there's going to be lots of people celebrating May Day. Well, in fact, they were celebrating May Day yesterday, because yesterday was the 1st of May as well. And I'm going to just show you Matilda up close again. So our Queen of the May for 2021, Matilda Swallow. And this is the last time that I'm going to be able to show you the sampler. She's travelling across the Atlantic to the Attic Needleworks on not Monday because it's bank holiday, but Tuesday she's going to be collected and she's going to be on her way. So if you are in Phoenix, please go along to the Attic Needlework and have a look at Matilda and her beauty. It's been lovely seeing how many people have been kitting up Matilda and are going to make a start on her. I think that most of the people who ordered her when she was announced have received their booklets now, and you know, we're continually shipping these booklets out every day. It's been a bit of a mad scramble keeping up with the demand for this sampler, but I've just had a new batch of printed booklets come through from the printers, so there will be more shipping off to our distributors now. Very, very pretty sampler. Do you know, you can never ever get fed up of looking at samplers. There's just so much beauty in all of them. Oh gosh, she's a big heavy girl. New things. Well, I have had a wonderful delivery of silks. Do you remember me showing you the Bijoux metallic silks? And I said I wanted to collect the range, and there was 30 in the range. Well, I've got them all now, but Access Commodities also do another range of metallic threads called Accentuate, and of course, who could resist? So I've got these 2 bags of these beautiful silks have come as well, but I've not had time to open them and explore them and to see how the 2 different makes work, you know, how they compare to each other. But in the week ahead, I really hope to unpack these, get them sorted out. So in next weekend, or maybe the weekend after, I will return to these and talk about them further and show them when they're all sorted and laid out. The other thing that I got from the Access Commodities website, although you can't buy direct from Access Commodities, their website is really very, very interesting. They have a lot of beautiful Italian linens on there. They have all these wonderful threads, far more than I ever show. You know, they carry a huge range of different threads. You know, scissors, needle liners, all sorts of things that needle workers use. And if you see something you like, you can always let your needlework store know so that they can order it in for you. Anyway, on their website, they have garniture, and they are frippery, furbelows, festoons, frills, and frou-frous. Frou-frous is such a wonderful word. So is furbelows and festoons and frippery. So, all different sorts, which I am going to be exploring and enjoying. But the one that really caught my eye is this beautiful, beautiful piece of lace. And you so often see samplers that are edged in lace. I'm hoping that maybe the right sampler will come along that I can edge the sampler with some lace. You often see that. You often see samplers edged with braid, which was used for just sort of giving that neat edge to the linen. There's all sorts of things with this range. every time I go onto Access Commodities website, I see something new and different that I want to explore. Okay, you might not use everything, but it's always nice to learn about it and to try new products. Okay, so, some samplers. Now, these samplers came this week, and I've only just opened them, but I haven't had a chance to study them or to research them in any way. They are stitched by two sisters, and the reason I bought these samplers was because of what the little girls stitched on there. They were both stitched in North Cerney National School, and the one I'm showing you here now was stitched by, let me just do it this way, was stitched by Ethel W.A. Hayward, and it was stitched when she was 11 in 1907. And why I was really interested in these samplers was that this was standard 5. And then her sister stitched this one in the same school in 1902 when she was 9, and this was standard 4. And I was very, very interested to study these to see the progression between standard 4 and standard 5. So these are two samplers that I'm looking forward to studying and finding out more about the Hayward sisters. Before I bought the samplers, I did check that I could find them, which I could. So there's going to be a lot of things to learn about those two samplers. I buy samplers for all different sorts of reasons, and that was because of standard 4 and standard 5, and I wanted to find out a little bit more about how girls were taught needlework and how that progressed through the education system. Okay, I've probably been talking for a little bit too long. Ray and I are off out to enjoy the day. It's so wonderful that Ray has had his second vaccination, and a friend of mine, she's had a phone call from her doctors and she's got her second vaccination on Wednesday. My first vaccination was about 2 weeks after her first vaccination, so I'm hoping that in about 2 weeks' time I will have my second vaccination. It's like having a happy pill, having your vaccination. And I've been sort of, although still masks and social distancing, I've actually been meeting quite a few people lately, and it's just so lovely to talk to people. And everybody is so happy in this country about getting their vaccinations. It's given us all a new lease of life, so much so that I'm back up to London later this month. I'm going to have a shopping day. I'm having a day with a very good friend who's a needleworker. We're going to have a stitching day in her garden, and then I've booked to go to the V&A. Normally with the Victorian Albert Museum, you can literally just walk in, and it's free to go into the museum. You just pay if you're going into a specific exhibition, but because of COVID they are restricting the numbers that can go into the museum, so you have to reserve a ticket. So my ticket is all reserved, so I'm having a whole day in the V&A, and I'm going to wear trainers so that I can stand on my feet all day, and I can't wait. I cannot wait to be back in the V&A. Right, okay, so I've got a busy week ahead. I'm on a roll with getting printed booklets out now that the worry of COVID is passing. Oh, my light has come. After months and months and months of waiting, my replacement daylight lamp has come. It arrived yesterday. I haven't unpacked it, so fingers crossed there's nothing damaged and that it works. Things are really getting back to normal. Anyway, I am waffling now, so I'm going to say goodbye. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Stay safe, stay well. Bye-bye.